jobs right now? Who all work? The people who are working, do you plan on staying with the companies that you are at? Who are you? I forget where you currently.
I work at a hockey rink, Fifth Third Arena.
Okay, so what's your like positioning now versus where you, your trajectory of where you're looking to be?
So when I first started, it was just as like a customer service associate, so working like the front desk, like as needed, like scorekeeping adult league games. I'm still doing that now, but now I like do more of like a supervisor role where I can open and close the rink as
Okay.
well. And so like eventually I want to be working with the marketing team there.
So that's your goal?
Yeah.
Is the marketing. Okay. Great, how long do you think that'll take?
I was talking to some of my supervisors because in May I'll be there 2 years, so they kind of want me to start working there more so after I graduate.
You feel what you'll be getting paid will match your value or your
Yeah.
work? Great. Who else? You're working, right?
Yeah,
What are you doing?
I'm a banker, Citibank.
Okay.
I started off as a teller, and then I worked up. I'm a banker right now. And before
Personal banker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before, all I had to do was a teller. I can only do teller transactions like withdrawals and deposits.
Yeah.
And now I can open accounts, apply for credit cards, personal loans, stuff like that.
Okay. When you were a teller, did they cross-train you for any of those sort of extra?
Yeah, yeah.
things?
Yeah, they did. I could apply for credit cards as a teller, but everything else like opening accounts, I couldn't do that. And now
Okay.
I got it.
So what's the goal?
I would say like work more with like the wealth management team, become maybe like an investment banker, get my
Yeah.
stockbroker's license, something like that.
Series 73 or 6?
My series 6.
Your 6. Awesome. Back there, where are you working again?
I'm an administrative assistant for a group of financial advisors.
Yeah. So where do you hope to go from there?
Right after graduation, I plan to just stay there as an assistant full-time, but over time, we're kind of debating if I wanna get into, selling life insurance or getting my certification for advising.
Okay. So the certified financial planner, CFP or something like that. Okay, great. How long you think something like that would take?
Honestly, I don't know. They're kind of already asking me what direction I wanna go in, so kind of have to pick pretty
Okay.
quickly.
Do you feel the company will match your worth?
Yeah, it's a pretty small, it's like a family business, and me and another assistant started last year, and they're kind of like really focusing on helping us grow.
Okay. Excellent. Who else working on this side? Okay, well, what are you doing?
I work at a country club as a server, and I also work at the gun club, but I'm not planning to stay there like after I graduate. It's just like a job like to help me through school.
Okay, so no plans to go up?
No, it was just like a job so I could like help pay for school.
Okay. Eventually, so what do you wanna do?
I have a job. I started a job in end of July at Marsh. The insurance.
where?
Marsh, the insurance brokering
Okay.
agency.
Alright, and then you said you have that already ready for you?
Yeah,
When
I
you
started in
graduate?
July.
Okay, excellent. Playing well for it, I see. Over here, anybody else? Yes, well, I'll let you go first. What are you doing?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I just work with fitness center, but I'm not upstairs.
Oh, the fitness center?
Yeah.
Any plans to move up in the fitness center?
No.
Any plans to stay with Concordia?
Probably not. I don't know yet. In the summer, I coach at Chicago Fire for little kids. But,
Is that something you wanna maybe look at, potential to start? And you, sir?
I work at Home Depot. I know they emphasize a lot of like you can move up with like going to the office or the corporate and all that. But right now I'm just a regular associate. They keep pushing me to like go into this program, like Rising Stars, which like you can become like a supervisor, manager, and like move to the office and stuff.
Okay. So you think you'll stick around?
Right now that's not my intention, but like I wouldn't mind to since like they keep talking about like there's some chances like move up and move up. So like right now I don't mind keeping it, but that's not my intention.
Okay. You feel they can match your worth? What you're worth?
That specific location, Probably, but like if I would like to like transfer somewhere else, maybe not.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, you guys are getting ready to graduate in May, right? Looking for employment, looking for jobs. What are you worth? All right. They're gonna promote the salary to you or an hourly job, which is fine. That's their position, right? You're ready to graduate. What are you worth? What are you worth right now? What do you think you're worth per year? What do you think you're worth per year? Maybe to throw a number out there. You haven't thought about it much, huh? You guys, my French students, what are you worth per year?
I've never thought about this question.
Okay. No.
I don't know.
You?
I would say almost nothing, since I have only theoretical knowledge. I don't have like valuable experience in work life, so I'd say almost nothing.
You're worth nothing to an employer.
I mean,
So what if they offer you $10,000 a year? It's good. Is it not? All right, well, you?
At least 24K.
24,000 a year.
24,
24,000.
at least.
US.
No, at least. Oh, euros.
24,000 euros. A year.
Yep.
Okay. What kind of a lifestyle do you plan? Do you want to buy cars, a house, apartment, condo, start a family?
It's mostly about the value of the job, more than what I want to do with it.
Okay. So 24,000 a year is maybe what, 32 to 33, 50,000.
It's a starting position.
24,000 US is maybe, it's not much. Not much. Okay, you, sir.
At the very least, actually, what's the legal minimum wage?
Type it in, Google it. What's the federal? I know Illinois may have it different. If you're staying in Illinois, just type in Illinois.
Illinois is like 10 something, I think.
Oh, wow.
Chicago's, I think, 16.
Yeah.
Okay, 13 an hour, and multiply that by the 40-hour work week. And then,
Times 52.
yeah, about 27,000 more or less, because, again, all I have for the most part is knowledge of theory. At this point, I do have some work experience, but not sure if it's enough to prove myself just yet. So at the very least, I'm sure companies might look at me as like at least being worth the bare minimum, because I have quite a bit to prove.
$20-some thousand a year. What kind of lifestyle you expect?
For
That's
the
gonna
most,
start the business. How are you gonna start the business? Save money.
well, I do want to try to look to see where I can somewhat reach into the entertainment industry. Not sure exactly just yet, but I do think maybe at some point building connections with the wrestling industry or other related media companies, for sure. At least getting some sort of networking connections. Just throw some companies out there. Fight, they are well known for streaming, for combat sports, and short merchandise. So really, you gotta build up your connections, because
So you use some of that money you get from this salary, $28,000 a year, pay for an apartment, utilities, go out to eat, go museums and stuff, go dates and a car, right? And we're saying this is before taxes, right? So take away, just subtract 25% from that. Point is, that's 20 years unrealistic. 20 years, like, might might as well just get government assistance or something, you know, cause it may equal more than that. I'll come back to the reason why I'm talking about this, but you, sir, what are you worth? Graduating in May.
Probably an entry-level job, maybe like 40K. I don't really got much work experience exactly in the field that I mean, I have work experience, but I don't have work experience in the field that I wanna go into. So probably entry-level job around 40K.
Okay, so $40,000 before taxes. 30,000 maybe after. Okay. What are they gonna, what are you expecting them to offer you?
What are they gonna pay me?
What do you think, yeah, or do you already know what they're gonna
Yeah.
pay you? Okay, well, what are,
They're
well, I
paying-
mean, you maybe don't tell us, but give us a roundabout or something.
70,000.
Alright, so we got one person, right? It says $70,000. You don't live in Chicago or the suburbs?
Chicago.
Alright, that sounds more realistic. That sounds realistic to just have a normal, like be able to go out, go to the movies, go eat, date, get a decent car, decent apartment, right? Factor, take away taxes, probably about 58 or something like that. But, okay, so 70 grand. So we say the numbers are different on what people value themselves at. Would you have taken a lower number?
Yeah, that was just what they offer, like the starting level, and plus I did their internship last summer. So I was expecting around that number because of what other interns were saying that they were gonna get paid once they started.
Okay. Alright, so financial industry. You, sir. You ready to graduate? What's your worth out there in the marketplace?
60, 70.
And where are you gonna be applying, like what market, what industry, what jobs?
Well, I was thinking more, well, I mean, it kind of depends on what I do, because I still 100% know yet, but I go, an entry-level job, in my, local, I mean, not my local, like, my brother works at a accounting firm, and they kind of offer me some, so entry level's like 60 there.
Okay, so 60 something. In the back, way in the back.
I would like it now, 40, 50
40 or 50, that's the plan?
for now.
How about you here in the front?
Me?
Yeah.
I currently work as a pizza delivery driver, and I'm not gonna stay there. As to what I wanna do, maybe get into coaching somewhere down along the line, but as of right now, I'm just kind of.
You graduate in May, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you expectations for what you do? Like, what's your worth right now to yourself?
Worth?
Yeah, out in the marketplace.
Whatever they pay me.
So you take whatever you could get,
Yeah.
job or just money?
Well,
Okay. Alright. Did I ask you what you're worth?
You didn't yet, but, I think between, like, at least 50,000 a year.
Okay, 50,000. You be living in the burbs or in Chicago?
My parents and I will be moving to the suburbs.
You get
So
your
live at
place?
home.
You
I'll
get
live
your-
at home for a little bit.
Okay.
While I'm gonna do my master's program as well. So finish doing that up and then see where I'm working, see what's going on with financial wise, and then eventually get my own place.
Okay, excellent.
Kind of depends what you're initially, like, if I do coaching, with the coach, probably like 50 to 60.
50 to 60.
I had the same range, just it depends on what you do, what you're reading, read her.
We stayed on Home Depot, what are you expecting?
Probably 70, like if I end up moving up to the office, probably 70, but like if it's just like regular management of the store, probably like 50.
50.
probably at least like 60K.
What are you, where do you plan on working?
So I'm in business administration right now. I had an internship at like a supplement company, and they're relatively small, but based off of like other positions that I was kind of looking to go into, they were around that same range. And I had some friends that were trying to do the same stuff, and they just got jobs around the same range too, so.
Okay. Is this what you wanna do?
Yeah.
Did I ask you? Okay.
Well, I'm from Texas, so cost of living is a bit lower.
Yeah. And you're going back after you graduate?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so I probably, my partner has no college degree and they're making about 45K. So I figured mine would probably be higher than that, with the college degree, so maybe 50, 60.
I would say minimum like 50.
Minimum 50. Staying in the city or the suburbs?
I live in Humboldt Park.
Where?
Humboldt Park.
Okay. Humboldt Park? We lived there shortly on North Avenue in California.
Oh, you said Humboldt Park, I said Humboldt Park.
Elmo Park, okay, there's Elmo Park. So north in Harlem area. Alright, what's the point of this? Right? Point of this is you've been in college for 4 years, right? We're studying process, procedures, planning, strategies, step by step. Remove something that it doesn't work, how to improve efficiency. Have you thought about this stuff? Where would you like to work? Number one, before we get to that, saying you want jobs, are you actually gonna enjoy this work? Right? If you're not gonna enjoy the work, the job will be gone before you even know it. So first is thinking your own choices in decision making. Before you start thinking about people's products, people's services, and the people that you're gonna work on, what is your actual process for making sound decisions for yourself? Because you want a certain lifestyle, take it, right? And if you haven't thought about that, you're basically pigeonholing yourself into something you're probably gonna hate, right? So just speaking as a person who's went through MBAs, seen all the people get the jobs, all this different stuff, most people end up in positions that they hate and that are stuck because the money is halfway decent. And even if it's not halfway decent, you made life choices to where you can't be, right? You had kids, a family, took on an insurmountable amount of debt. So process, so we begin this work breakdown structure, right? We're studying stuff, how do you break down the work? What's your objective for your product or this project you're doing? This all corresponds to just personal life. Your own personal life, like, do you have a mission statement? Do you have an objective? Do you have a vision? Do you know where you want to work? Do you know where you want to live? Do you know the cost of living where you want to live? Based on the type of lifestyle that you want, and then come up to a determination of your value. Now, I think most people say 60, 50, 40 because they just think that's the normal of anybody coming out of college. But you're like, well, who came up with that number? Who normalized that, right? Has it been normalized on purpose from employers? Right? Kind of regurgitated through the university system as what people won't start. Because honestly, I would say coming out of business school, at least $80,000 to $90,000. It was 40 to 50 when I graduated with a bachelor's degree. That was like the standard. And this is, some time later, we're still saying the same numbers with the amount of inflation that has occurred in time being. It doesn't make much sense. So as we move through this, looking at breakdown structures, objectives, and your ideas, it starts with you, your own personal life before you get into these great plans. Do you process your thoughts and ideas correctly based on your value? Remember we said 2 separate things. There's the price of something, right? You're gonna pay and give the money. And there's the value of something. What is this actually thing worth beyond the price? Is this education worth what you're saying your salary is gonna be over X amount of years? If not, we need to reevaluate maybe even the education itself, right? Because education has to financially compensate and make sense. It has to make sense because the amount of debt taken on will be there. You have to do something. And for the most part, if you don't make X amount of money, the debt's never gonna go away. It takes about 10, 15, 20 years. So I say, don't sell yourself short. Maybe really selling yourself short, and as competitors in the marketplace against one another, you're competing against one another. You guys should be, the numbers should be greater as the more people ask, right? You're competing, you're saying, well, am I a better product? Second part is like, hey, I don't have any work experience. You're like, oh, okay, well, that's objective, right? You don't have work experience in that particular detailed job they're asking for. You have life experience, you have travel experience. You may have worked on a project at home. You may have worked at projects at school. You've done presentations and PowerPoints at school. All of that stuff should be gathered together to present to companies to show that you do have some sort of value. So what is your work experience? Concordia University. Your work experience is this school. You've sacrificed 4 years of not working full time so you can be here to take these courses and learn all this different stuff. So you should be applying your projects that you've done, your presentations, anything else you've done in school should be structured together as a portfolio to present to whatever employers you're trying to get to say, here's my body of work. Body of work, emphasize, right? Work experience. Your work experience has been using your intelligence over this time, but you have done work, right? So that's the huge misconception. And I think if it's applied wrong, most people I see this say, oh, I just applied 1,000 places, nobody called me. Because you're really selling yourself short. You're not advertising yourself properly, right? You're advertising yourself as somebody who's never done anything. And you can't, you know, that doesn't make sense, right? So you're constraining yourself as we talk about constrained management. You're placing bottlenecks on yourself as we talk about bottlenecks, right? So we have to think of ways to apply this when we graduate in May to say, how do we make this more efficient and more effective so that we optimize? Say 80, 90K. 80, 90K at minimum. Because those numbers you told me, as a person who's lived quite a few places and seen people make all type of financial decisions, that's just a basic lifestyle in Chicago. That's like extremely, after the taxes, because that number is just a fictitious number. It's gone after you pay health insurance, federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, et cetera, et cetera. That number is, should never think about that number. Always think about the number after everything is gone, right? So you just think about what you actually take home. Don't think about some number that has no really real bearing on your real day-to-day lifestyle. So I say 80, 90K if you want to have just a minimal, decent quality of life. 30K, poverty. I don't even know. You might be struggling by yourself a cup of coffee and stuff, you know? Living like in a crappy apartment in the basement somewhere. But why sell yourself short, right? They have a lot more. And the second part is too, is you really can think big. The bigger you think about yourself, the greater possibilities you'll be able to achieve at least minimum some sort of greatness, right? I knew that when I started my business, I was like, well, I started to have some struggles on getting people to invest that I knew. I didn't know enough people that have money. And then I was like, well, I can't get millions of dollars of loans from the bank. So I had to go back to the drawing board, think of some very savvy, creative ways, right? Looking at hedge fund managers, things like that today. I need other people's money, not bank. I need other people's private money. And guess what? There's a lot of money out there for people to just give to you. It's just no one's asking. Because people don't really value themselves that high. They don't think they can do it. I'm 100% sure you can do whatever it is you want to do if you actually believe it. Okay, so constraints, theory of constraints. Before we get to that, who got their, wrap up the objectives? Some people didn't speak about their objectives, what they're gonna kind of focus on. Who wants to tell us about their objectives that haven't spoken? project objectives. Who hasn't told us about their objective? Did you think more about yours with your, custom cardio?
Well, I feel like the big objectives would be like to fill in like the image people bring to it. So like, I know like different cars and like different stuff that you have to handle and deal with, so you can always like bring out the image that somebody tends to have. So I guess just like being able to fulfill the expectations or needs.
So differentiate yourself, maybe,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do you stand out amongst other competitors? Okay. How about you, sir? What is, yeah, for your,
I didn't get a chance to do that part yet.
yeah, have you thought about it at least?
A little bit, but nothing much that I can really speak about.
Well, what's your, main idea?
Open up a bait and tackle shop. It's like a fishing store.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
There's kind of like a lack of them, like where I am. So you like have Best Pro shops, you have Cabela's, but those are all like 30 miles, like scattered apart. So you kind of need something in between. And the ones so far that are in between there are doing pretty well, but I need one out by where I live.
And these would be primarily in the suburbs though? You just said
Yeah,
more
it's
located.
yeah, because you have the Fox River up by where I am.
Yeah.
There's kind of a need. People kind of drive pretty far to go to different tackle shops. So if I put one right in that area, I think it'd be pretty well.
How would you deal with the seasonality, like the change in the season?
Well, there's ice fishing too that a lot of people do out there. So it'd be pretty steady. I would just kind of change the stock of what lures I have.
Okay, I don't think I heard your, idea. How about you in the back? What is your idea?
Just open up like a Chinese food spot here on campus.
Did you mention this?
No, I didn't mention it.
Okay, the Chinese restaurant
Yeah.
on campus here at Dominican?
No, yeah, just downstairs and then,
Downstairs?
yeah.
So what would that look like?
And it'll just like be another spot, another type of food that people could eat, and then have it open a little bit later at night, so that people are able to, go in after 10. And
What,
be able to
what's
go
some of the
later.
challenges with that that you see?
I mean, there's competitors down there, so it's kind of like a mini food court.
I mean, observing the other food little restaurants and station here at, Concordia, what do you think some of their challenges for making money?
It's on campus, so it's like mainly just students that are gonna be doing there.
So a limited amount of customers, you
Yeah.
say? Maybe the times in which the places are open? Okay. Who else? Who haven't spoken on their idea? How about you? Have you told us your idea?
Yeah, mine's furniture.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Is there anybody left out? Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to open a new boxing gym, like in the suburbs. I feel like there isn't enough boxing gyms in here in the suburbs. In the city there might be, but like around here in the suburbs there's a very limited amount, and I feel like the amount we have, they're overpriced. Like I know like the memberships monthly are like $150, and I feel like there is a lot of difficulties in opening a new gym. Like there's a lot of startup costs, like rent and boxing equipment is very expensive, and like finding good personnel that's like passionate about it. But I feel like since coming from, because my family is like a boxing family, my mom had an amateur career, and I feel like since, the family is very passionate about it, I feel like that passion could help me in the long run.
Boxing, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Hamlin Park?
No.
It's kind of, yeah, boxed there for like 10 years.
Oh, did you? What weight did you box in?
It fluctuates. It's like middle, like light, sometimes light heavyweight, sometimes middle. Cause over the range of time, get that weight and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't do Golden Gloves or anything, but just.
That's how I want to do Golden Gloves.
Okay, so what's the challenge? Like looking at what you see out there for boxing gyms, because I don't see them.
Yeah.
Which means like, is this, is the market really, is there a need for it?
I feel like recently it's growing in popularity. You see more like YouTube stars and like these TikTok stars doing these boxing events, and I feel like, you know, since it's picking up, I feel like just marketing to the younger generation, that, you know, like this is something fun that can keep you active, and, you know, just stay out of trouble and keeps you active, it's something that like helps you grow.
Okay, excellent. So boxing gym, would you incorporate, mixed martial arts in that too, or just focus?
Yeah, boxing and mixed martial arts, both.
Alright, so that's gonna be interesting to see. Boxing gym, anybody else? Anybody we left out? Alright. Let's get back into constraint management. Alright, so we say it's constraints. Constraints affects performance, right? You have all types of constraints dealing with increase in demand, not having enough people or staff available, maybe policies in your corporation that constrain. We talked about maybe ways and procedures you could go about measuring constraints. Everyone familiar with what a constraint is? Okay. So theory of constraints, systematic management approach that focus mainly on constraints that impedes a firm's progress towards its goal. So one of the ways of looking at constraints is if you supply a product, let's say, you know, going back to Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's, right? You could say you supply products that people want more than other products, right? So you're looking at demand for particular items on the menu. So kind of thinking about your barbecue joint, right? Items on the menu. So you got the business up and running, people are coming in, they're buying stuff. You start to notice like, hey, people buy a lot more of this than this particular item, right? Let's say they rarely ever buy this particular item, and it's been on the menu. What do you think you're gonna do?
Start to cut down, so say like, a lot of people are buying pulled pork and not buying a lot of chicken wings, just say. Like kind of just still make the chicken wings, but not as much. And kind of put all the extra effort into what they are purchasing more, so like making more of the pulled pork then.
Okay, and do you think eventually you'll phase out that
Yeah,
and
depending
introduce
on if
something?
like the demand gets to like 0, then yeah, but if it's still like, you still wanna satisfy kind of as many people as possible, so like, you don't wanna take it fully off the menu right away.
Yeah.
So in case someone's like, oh, I was really coming here just for the chicken wings, like that type of thing. So you kinda just wanna see where it goes, like start to minimize it, and then possibly fade out, maybe even add a new product.
Yeah, so think of it, if you have some products and they're not faring well as other products, potentially you're losing money, right? So you say, I still have this up there, but if I had something else, right? The opportunity cost there. If I have the opportunity to introduce a new product, I'd be making maybe X amount of increase in profit, instead of having these products on there that no one wants to purchase. So companies do this all the time. You'll see McDonald's change their menu, they'll add things, they'll take it out, they're testing the market, see the demand, and they'll measure the actual demand of the product over a certain period of time. If it doesn't meet the test, eventually they get rid of it and just keep their staples, right? Same will go with Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, what have you. So that's one way of increasing your profit and being highly efficient, is constantly revising what you offer, right? If you're offering the same stuff and no one wants to purchase it, you don't change. If you don't adapt and change to what people want, then you're gonna have a failing business and you're gonna lose a ton of money, right? So revising even products, being efficient in doing that. So you want to exploit your capabilities and your capacity to do certain things when you have challenges, which means that you basically want to take what you do well and focus on that thing, subordinate it, put all the resources and people towards something when you have experienced a bottleneck. So we said some of the measures that we have, right? Inventory, do we have enough to supply? If we do have enough, do we have too much? Right? We said too much will lead to waste. Waste leads to a decrease in profit. And then we talked about throughput, the rate at which the system generates money through sales, An increase in throughput leads to an increase in net profit, return on investment or cash flows. And then your operating expense, basically if you have too many things that operating and they're not producing a profit, you have to go back and use revision methods in order to eliminate some of the operating expenses. But you see all the time, businesses waste a ton of money, right, by not being efficient. They buy buildings that are too large, they have too much inventory on hand, the stuff don't get sold. You see that with clothing companies, they're constantly putting things on clearance, you don't sell. They have huge facilities, not enough salespeople, right? You go into some stores. What are some stores you see, like examples you've been in, you're like, man, does anybody even work here? Like huge places where you barely see anybody even around to help you. Any examples? Some retail spots, yeah.
Walmart, but I don't think Walmart is an issue of not hiring enough people. I think it's an issue of mismanaging people and encouraging like laziness.
Why do you think that is, right? Let's say Walmart's, you know, when we go into these places, we think like, oh man, they just don't know. Like, no, I mean, these are multi-billion-dollar corporations. They're pretty aware of what's going on. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, you see online like a lot of employees at Walmart complaining about management being having like a point system to where like if you get X amount of points, you get fired, and points can be accumulated for like tardiness, calling off like and not using your PTO or time like that, and that it just encourages employees to be like less involved or less willing to put their best effort towards the company.
Yeah, and you said, do you think Walmart, let's say Walmart's looking and observing that behavior, right? District manager, store manager, what have you. Now looking at that, why do you think they continue to let it go?
I think it's, for them it's just easier to like hire people, cause they have like a ton of applicants, cause they're really an entry-level job in terms of like store associates, so they just have a constant like conveyor.
Turnover.
Yeah.
Right, let's say, hey, you're one of the district managers, you're the CEO of a region or something, a VP of a region of Walmart, right? Middle of Kansas, central Kansas or something like that. And you're looking at that happen, and people are complaining, they're bringing towards you, and you're like, well, I really don't want them to unionize. People had stable jobs here at Walmart, get health benefits, right? They want to stay here for a long time. Eventually, they would get together and unionize. And unionize would pay them $20-some an hour. Now, will Walmart be Walmart after you pay them $20-some an hour? Their profit margins decrease, right? Will the price of the goods still be there? If they're higher, will that impact the demand of coming to Walmart, right? So in some way, Walmart knows this. They know it's happening. Their methodology to really just allow it to happen is just say it's a force of that store, right? Because it says it's just a natural thing happening. There's nothing they can do about it. It could be changed with better training. They use all the tactics. Excuse me. So at the end of the day, Walmart's still efficient. Is it ethical? No. Absolutely unethical, right? Walmart's always criticized for unethical practices, not wanting to pay people anything, barely having people in these gigantic stores to help the people. They know that people still buy regardless because the stuff is cheap. So they have their target market, but in terms of their employees, they don't want them to unionize. So the methodology to have them not unionize is to have high turnover and not allow people to be able to band together to unionize. So they got their approach. Right? Little people, operating expenses low. We got huge inventory. Let's say utilization for Walmart really high because less people, more work, right? Less people you get to do, that means more work that they have to do. Which also means, what could be inefficient about that? Allowing people to take on more responsibilities. Is there anything that could be any efficient? Yes.
Well, if you have someone pretty much wearing multiple hats, then they have less time to do each task as opposed to someone designated for just one task.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
division of labor, not proper division of labor, right? Anyone here ever read Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations? No Wealth of Nations? Alright, just say if you read that book, it'll probably take away a year of school, if you can read that book from start to finish. So if you haven't read Wealth of Nations, read Wealth of Nations. It's the greatest fundamental principles of business and economics ever in history. Okay. So we say, hey, we got some constraints, right? We want to focus on balancing flow, not balancing capacity. Capacity was last chapter. It's talking about what all we got, resources. That's not about that. This is about focusing on being efficient for things that can arise to create bottlenecks, right? How to keep things moving appropriately, right? Maximizing output and efficiency of every resource towards that thing in the system, right? We said an hour loss at the bottleneck is an hour loss for the whole system. An hour saved is a mirage because it does not make the whole system more productive. Right? So this is really, I would say, more of a reactive approach than proactive. Right? Things will happen, so we want to be prepared and be able to react. All right, so identify the system bottlenecks. One of the things is like, hey, can you properly identify what is inefficient right now at this point? You say you go to Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's, the line is really, really long. What is happening that is disturbing this process, right? Maybe you don't know as a consumer, right? You're not supposed to know. But the people working there are like, hey, someone called off, one of the machines broke, that kind of disturbed the whole system. Maybe the point of service system is disrupted. Maybe there's some other, something else going on within the system, right? Exploiting a bottleneck is meaning basically putting all of your resources towards that issue. So you want to get more people on the registers, more people to help with the machine and get it done. And subordinate is all our decisions to step 2, which means you just delegate all of your employment workforce time to this exploitation, so that you elevate the bottleneck and do not let inertia set in. What's inertia? Right? Inertia is body at rest, just doing nothing. What you see all the time, if you ever go into some restaurants and like, hey, the service sucks, but they don't care. Right? They're not going to do anything about it. Just like, oh, this is just how it is. If you go even to some of these old family-owned restaurants, you're like, man, these places can make a killing. They could make a lot of money if they just added this, and that. And you're like, they do not do that. Therefore, they get the same amount of money every week, every weekend, with no expansion whatsoever. So they have a great product that people like in the area, but there's no change, there's no adaptation, there's no growth. There's no growth, which means we could have more McDonald's out there, but owners and operators of businesses just don't utilize their talents and their ideas to make that thing happen. That's where innovation comes in. Some people are business owners, but they're highly not innovative at all. Okay, they're giving us a example here, just to wrap it up. All right, Keith's Car Wash. I went to a car wash over the weekend, and the line was really, really long, ridiculous. But Keith's Car Wash offered 2 types of washes. Who here thinks car washes are good businesses? You think?
I used to work at one, and I knew the owners, and they would tell me about the amount of money that they made, how many different ones they own.
I Yeah.
It depends on the type that you do.
On a type. Yeah, I think you need multiple locations to make it work. All right, Keeps Car Wash offer two types of washes, standard and deluxe. The process flow for both types of customers is shown in the following chart. So this is called a precedence diagram, which basically shows which step-by-step performance, like what are you gonna do. Here we get, okay, so standards going up, so A1, A2 is part of the process of getting to this point. From here you get A3, A4. In parentheses, is the number of minutes that it takes for the activity to process. A5, A6, A7, and this is where you finally dry out. All right, which step is the bottleneck for the standard car wash process? What do you think? Where's the bottleneck located? You wanna see the bottleneck? You see it?
So A1, A2.
From here?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Just kind of looking at the bottleneck.
Okay, well, remember we said that in parentheses, we said the number of minutes that it takes for that process. Or deluxe, hey, are you able to identify any of the bottlenecks here? Yes.
Probably, for deluxe, I mean, it takes a bit longer, it's kind of reasonable for, being deluxe, implied being premium, but still kind of takes, like, I'd say like a bit longer than standard, obviously, just, it is, I'm trying to say here, maybe the value might not be as good for deluxe, for what you're paying, what you're getting.
Okay. I mean, a simple way of looking at this, right? You said parentheses is number of minutes. So you're looking at the time it takes in a particular step. If it takes a very, very long time in a step, how do you make that more efficient process, right? Because in reality, customers are sitting at one step for an extremely long time, in which case they may say, I'm never coming back here again. Your job as an owner, operator of this car wash is to have it flow in a way that no one really notices the difference in the gaps, right? In the amount of time it does it, so that it just moves, it flows smoothly. Because remember we said it's about flow, how well the things flow. Anything that takes long, 20 minutes here for A6, right, that's a very long time. Could they spread this out so that the time is equal? And that would make it more for customers to really not complain so much about the process. Here you say 15 minutes right there, right? That A4, 15 minutes. Could you change it to make all of this 10? And that way you have a smooth process. Well, we'll come back and talk about this more on Wednesday. Everyone have a great day.
Nothing
Yeah.
for 50,000, is that more realistic?
Yeah, Adam's about.